All right, welcome to Vision Expo West 2023. We have just a few pieces of equipment in our booth today. One in particular that I want to talk about today is near and dear to my heart. It is a new machine called the 900 TLX. It is an AR coating machine. AR coating is near and dear to my heart. It is very important if you wear glasses. Hopefully you have an anti-reflective coating. If you don't, shame on you. A pair of glasses, by the way, reflects 4% of light on the front surface and another 4% of light on the back surface. And if I'm looking at you and you're wearing glasses that don't have AR coating, know that I'm going, oh my God, this looks terrible. So the other thing about AR coating, when you go to buy your glasses, you're thinking, it's just another add-on. They just want to get me for another $25, $35. That's not true. Not only is it an important feature, there's a tremendous amount of science, and yes, you could even say that it's sort of rocket science. And I'm going to show you just a little bit about what goes into an AR coating recipe. There's a tremendous amount of technology in here, and I can try to articulate why it even exists. So first of all, this is a vacuum chamber. So AR coatings are not applied with a brush. It is a chemical vapor deposition. Think silicon chips, right? So chemical vapor deposition has to be done in a vacuum chamber. Why? Because what you're doing is you're heating at a very high temperature. You're melting metals essentially at the bottom of the chamber, and you're placing an uncoated, a raw lens, in the top of the chamber, right? So you have this distance to create a plume of material, and it's not going to work unless you create a mean free path. And the only way to do that is by evacuating all the air. So how do you do that? There's a tremendous amount of technology in the back of this machine. There's a series of mechanical pumps, Roots blowers, and then high vacuum pumps are either diffusion pumps, or in this case, it's a turbo. Works very similar to the turbo, I would speculate, in an aircraft. So it's a fan blade that spins at like tremendous amount of RPMs. And thus you have the TLX, turbo TLX. But that's not all. There are other things in here that also contribute to creating vacuum. This is a Meissner trap. So you see a copper coil. Basically, we send super cold liquid through that coil. The chiller itself gets down to near absolute zero. And the reason is you really can't evacuate water. It doesn't like to pump. So we capture it. So it's temporarily frozen in something called a Meissner trap, which actually helps us get this chamber down to relatively quickly down to 10 to the minus 3. That technology is very similar to when you go to open your freezer door and it's stuck, right? So we're creating essentially a vacuum, a lower pressure. I don't know, it's like 0.2 psi for every 10 degrees or something like that inside your freezer. So the concept is the same. And anyway, what happens is in about 10 minutes, we pump this chamber down to provide a mean free path. And a typical AR coating has 3 or 4 features to it. The first is the anti-reflection feature, and that is done by having essentially evaporating 2 materials, SiO2, which is, I think that's a high index material, and zirconium, which is a low index material. And we put a very thin layer measured in angstroms of one, then we put a very thin layer in angstroms of another, and we stack these about 6 deep in order to create this destructive interference. So it's very hard to fathom actually. We increase transmission by destroying reflection through destructive interference. Long story short, or short story long, something like that. But in addition to that, we put an anti-static material in there. I think it's an ITO layer that prevents dust from collecting, wanting to be attracted to your lenses. So it's got anti-static properties, and on top of that, it's got scratch resistance and an oleophobic or a super hydrophobic layer on the top to make them very smudge resistant and very easy to clean. So all that stuff really adds value to the lenses on your face. The lenses aren't going to last very long, and they're going to look like crap really quickly if you don't get an AR coating. Most companies now are using good equipment and sophisticated AR recipes that go into that very tiny layer right in the front of your lenses. So don't go cheap. Spend the money for that. So anyway, companies that want to add that technology, they can buy this 900 TLX that I just swung the door open on, and this is no inexpensive investment. It's about $600,000. Pretty good size machine. You can see in the back, there's the back of the chamber here. You see the turbo pump in there, and that's kind of how that works. So in a larger factory, there's, you know, somewhere between 4 and 10 of these bad boys, and it's batch processing. A fair amount of labor. It's not that easy, but it works. It's important. We need it. So get you some. Go buy some. That's all we got. Look around the booth. That's it. That's my live report from Vision Expo West. See you guys.